Many language learners get frustrated. They say, "I understand English, but I can't use it naturally." That happens because they're learning English in pieces, not in feelings. One of the best ways to connect to a language deeply is through story. Because story is how we think, feel, and remember. If you want to absorb real English with meaning and emotion, not just grammar rules, you're in the right place. Make sure to like this video, subscribe to Trueling, and leave a comment with your favorite phrase from this story. We post one story every single day to help your English grow naturally. It was a quiet evening in Krakow. The streets were still warm from the sun, and the shadows were long and soft. Elena walked slowly, her hands in her pockets, her eyes following the orange light that touched the tops of buildings. The old town was peaceful now. The tourists had returned to their hotels. The locals were either home or sitting in cafes. But Elena didn't want to sit. She wanted to move. She didn't know exactly why, she just felt like walking. She had arrived in Krakow that morning, and after a day of visiting museums and squares, she felt something pulling her back outside. The golden hour had started. The sky was turning from blue to amber. The stone streets reflected the glow. So she left her hotel, turned right, and let the light guide her. She walked past a small bakery. The scent of fresh bread still hung in the air. A woman in an apron stood in the doorway, smiling at someone across the street. Elena didn't stop, she smiled, nodded, and kept going. She passed a bookstore with old wooden frames. The window displayed books in Polish and English. Some covers were yellow from the sun. A cat slept just inside the glass. Elena paused, looked at the titles, then moved on. The light was shifting again. She turned down a narrow street. The stones under her shoes were uneven, but familiar, like they'd been walked on for centuries. The walls on either side were warm in color, like honey and sand. A child's voice echoed from a balcony. Someone was singing quietly, not a full song, just a line. A bike passed behind her. The rider nodded. She nodded back. The light curved ahead of her. It slipped around corners, climbed up buildings, touched old bricks and iron railings. She followed it like it was showing her something. Elena wasn't thinking in full thoughts. She wasn't planning her next steps. She was just moving with the light. She came to a small square with a tree in the center. A few leaves had started to fall. They were golden and dry. An old man sat on a bench, reading a newspaper. A young couple leaned against a wall, sharing a drink. No one was in a hurry. The light made everything slower. Elena stood in the square for a while. She looked at the windows above. Some had flower boxes. Others were dark. She imagined the rooms behind them, people cooking, resting, writing letters. She liked that she would never know for sure. She turned again and continued walking. The streets were not straight. They curved and twisted like time. She passed a small chapel, then a locked garden gate, then a sign in a language she couldn't read. It didn't matter. The light still showed her where to go. She saw a child drawing with chalk on the ground, circles, stars, a house with a red roof. The child looked up, smiled, and waved. Elena waved back. Then she heard music. A violin. Soft, slow, full of feeling. She followed the sound to a street corner, where a man played with his eyes closed. His case was open, but no one stood near. Elena didn't have any coins, but she stood and listened. Just for a minute. Maybe more. When the music faded, she kept walking. The sun was lower now. The light had become deeper, more red, more gold. She looked up and saw the tops of towers glowing. She didn't know their names. But they felt important. A woman passed by on a bicycle, holding a bouquet of sunflowers. A boy kicked a ball across the street. A group of students laughed as they looked at their phones. Elena was alone, but not lonely. She turned one last time and found herself on a small bridge. Underneath was a quiet canal. The water reflected the sky perfectly. She stood on the bridge and watched the colors change, from gold to pink to blue-gray. She thought about how many people had walked here before her, how many stories had passed through these streets. She felt like one small part of something large and gentle. After a few minutes, she turned and walked back the way she came. The light was almost gone. The city was slowly turning to night. But inside her, everything felt lit up. She didn't take any photos. She didn't need to. The feeling stayed. In this story, you experienced natural English through expressions like, let the light guide her, wasn't thinking in full thoughts, she was alone, but not lonely, and felt like one small part of something large. You practiced past tense narration, descriptive vocabulary, and phrases related to movement, emotion, and observation. If this story helped you feel English, helped you picture the world in a new way, or gave you new words to think with, like the video, subscribe to Trueling, and leave a comment telling us, what light do you follow? See you in the next video.